Hi, my name is Jeff Pagano, and welcome to Harping on Rugby. This is the 80 plus column. It's what I call a video newsletter where I quickly harp on things that are going on in Leinster, Ireland, and the wider rugby world. Now, normally, we start these videos with what I call a wrap of a wrap, where I talk about the most latest wrap pod cast we did on the latest Leinster and Ireland game. Obviously, recording this in the off season. There's no Leinster games at the weekend. The last podcast on our feed was our season 5 finale, where we basically went back over Leinster season. I went over with Kigo on it. You can check it back on our podcast feed if you like. It's still there, and it was a good chat, and it was good to go over the season. And but that is our last podcast, and we'll probably get back to them. Maybe the second week of September as the new URC season gets closer. So that's our plan for that. Okay, next up we have what we call the front five, which is a selection of 5 eye-catching egg-chasing stories, quotes and links from around the rugby media landscape. Now, as you can see here, we've got all our topics lined up here, ready to go. So if you want to look ahead and if you see something that might interest you, we'll definitely get to everything on that list. But unfortunately, we're going to start on a sad note. Our first front 5 story comes from rte.ie, and it's written by Neil Tracy, and it's on the sad passing of ex-Munster and Connacht prop Rory Burke. There's tributes being paid, obviously, out from all over, so I'd like to just add mine. I'm going to be honest. I'm a big rugby fan. I've been following for years. I did know the name, but I didn't know a whole lot about him beyond the fact that he's playing for Munster and Connacht, and I don't know much. But of course, articles like this are great for telling us what they contribute to rugby. And age of 30 is obviously way too young. It's a terrible tragedy, and of course we're a rugby family first and foremost, and we just want to give our support and offer our condolences. As the quote I've chosen from this article says, Burke represented Ireland at under 20 level in 2014, playing 10 times across the under 26 nations and junior world championships, scoring 1 try. And he was also part of the Munster side that won the British and Irish Cup in 2017. He also won an All-Ireland League title with Cork that same year. I mean, obviously it's not all just about the achievements. He's part of our rugby family, and we offer our sincere condolences to all his family. Okay, so moving on to our second article, and this is from the Irish Rugby website, or the mothership as I call it. The headline reads, Ireland under-18s overcome England to start international series in style. Now, this is about an international series, which is, of course, taking place in South Africa. Apparently, for some reason, this time of year in 2024, all Irish teams must go to South Africa. It's the rule. The full test team did it. The under 20s did it, and now the under 18s have gone. Now, seriously, this is a brilliant opportunity for these youngsters. They're mostly just out of school. They're on a path to maybe moving up into provinces and beyond in professional rugby. It's a chance for them to travel, to train in a different environment, in a different climate, different hemisphere, and play rugby and train and just get used to being on these tours. There's so much that experience will stand to them, and they're out there. They're playing 3 matches. They had their first game against England, and they beat them well. They beat them 42-28. And the quote from this write-up says, Captain Charlie Maloney, Donncha Maguire, and Diarmuid O'Connell led by example as Ireland had to stave off a strong fight back from England during the closing 35 minutes. And those names there, Charlie Maloney and Donncha Maguire, they're involved in Blackrock College in the Leinster Schools Cup, and they're both on the pathway into the Leinster team. So it's a great start to the series for them. Like I say, a brilliant experience. They have 2 more matches left on Friday against the host South Africa, and then Tuesday also against South Africa, but they're A side. So that's 2 games pretty much against South Africa. So it'll be a brilliant experience for them as well, and we definitely wish them all the best. Okay, on to article number 3, and this comes from rugbypass.ie. It's from Pat McCarry. We all know Pat from Sports Joe over the years, but I think he announced earlier in the year he was leaving, and it seems he's gone to Rugby Pass, and he's written this excellent article on the Osborne family. Jamie Osborne, the headline reads, Jamie Osborne heads up the Irish family who may one day rival the Barretts. I mean, that's a big claim, but considering how his season has gone, and especially those 2 big games, those 2 big contest in South Africa, I mean, you could say the sky's the limits for him. He did really well. The quote I've chosen is a quote from one of his coaches, is that I knew from an early age Jamie had something about him. He had this way of running with the ball and taking these lines that stood out. I mean, the thing we said here about Jamie Osborne is that after those two matches in South Africa, between him and Kieran Frawley, who we'll be talking about a bit later, you wouldn't necessarily, if all the Leinster squad was fit, and considering the way the selections have gone this season, this season just finished, you could see a situation where they pick a top Leinster team without those two in the starting 15, which is amazing considering how they've done so well in the Irish 15. So it's good. We'll see how those selections go down the line. I mean, those two have really staked their claim for a start in the definite presumptive starting 15s for Leinster, but of course that's going to leave out a lot of other players. So it's a kind of dilemma you want to have. But anyway, this article focuses on Jamie and his family. He's got Andrew, of course, who's got a couple of caps, scored a couple of tries, and impressed as well for Ireland, I must say. And plus the whole setup down in Naas, a rugby club where he comes from, and there's other family members as well playing rugby down there. And it's a really well written article. It's definitely worth a look. And as you can see, I've got the QR code there on the screen as well. If you want to scan any of those, it should bring you straight to all those articles. Okay. Now, fourth article. This comes from Rugby World magazine, and it's that time of year, or it's that time of every 4 years, I suppose, where we start picking our Lions 15s. It's the most thankless task, one of the most thankless tasks in rugby. I mean, there is literally no combination of players, not just for Lions, but in any rugby terms. If you want to pick your best Irish team, you want to pick your best Leinster team, if you want to pick any team, you put 15 names down, you write them down, you put your name to it saying, these are my 15, put them out on social media. Someone's going to call you crazy. Someone's going to say you're daft. It's inevitable. But fair play to Paul Williams. Now, we spoke about Pat McCarry. Paul Williams has to be the most positive social media contributor in the history, at least in rugby terms, in history. And when you consider that he's Welsh on top of that, it's amazing. He's love his positivity no matter what happens, and he's really good at putting a glass half full. It's not even a spin. He's just basically showing you the positives of any bit of news that comes through. But anyway, what he's done here, he stuck his head over the parapet and got on Rugby World magazine and picked a 15 if the Lions were playing today. So fair play to him. Do I agree with it? No, of course I don't. And who does? I mean, he wouldn't. You wouldn't agree with mine if I put it out there. But it's an exercise that we're all going to be doing for the next season. Obviously, no surprises. It's heavily Irish team. He's got Marcus Smith as his 10, which is interesting. But it's an all-Irish front row. He talks about tight head. He said social media would have you believe that Tadhg Furlong has had a quiet 12 months, but that is largely due to the opposition he has been facing. And, he points out that he's played 3 times against the Springboks and beaten them twice. So, we haven't seen what we might consider peak Tadhg Furlong, but when you look at the options that are available for the Lions, you'd still pick him. And the advantages of having that 3 front row of Porter, Sheehan, and Furlong for a Lions team together, it would be really strong against Australia, And elsewhere in the team, it's interesting. There's going to be a lot of talk about Jack Willis, I think, over the next month. And I think Paul Williams, maybe he's being diplomatic here. I don't know. But I would have thought that if you put Jack Willis in your team, you're automatically dissing whether it's the RFU or Steve Borthwick or whatever's going on there with that. But he's been such you look at the Champions Cup final just on its own and his performance there. how can you not pick him for anybody? And if England choose not to do it, that's fine. But when Andy Farrell comes along and looks at all the available players, he might think differently. But anyway, listen, it's a conversation we're all going to be having, and Paul Williams has gone out there and said it first in this article there. So check that out. That's the fourth article in our front five this week, which brings us to our fifth and final one, which every week is what I call clickbait of the week. I want to pick an article which is kind of misleading in its headline to get you to click. Now, there's two elements to this article here. I've chosen one from my usual clickbait sources, ruck.co.uk. Two elements to this. There's the actual story itself, which I'll harp on first, and then we get to how Ruck has made it into clickbait. Okay, the story is that World Rugby have formally announced the format for the 2027 World Cup in Australia. And we kind of knew it was going to happen anyway. It wasn't really a big secret. It's been kind of road tested on social media for the past while. So we knew this was going to happen. And so it's expanding from 20 teams to 24. So instead of 4 pools of 5 teams, it's now going to be 6 pools of 4 teams. And with the addition of a round of 16. Now, Ireland, of course, famously go out of the quarterfinal stage. We all know about this. But now there's an extra round before it, an extra knockout round before it. But that said, there's only 3 pool matches. And with an expanded format, those pool matches should be easier. Okay. And so that's the way that's going to work. Now, we can debate about that forever. And there's be plenty of time to talk about that. But one thing I will add as well, they're talking about making the draw for those pools in 2026, so about a year before the actual World Cup. And when you consider that still seems a long way away, but when you consider it's previously done 3 years before, you saw what happened with the top 5 in ranking in the world all being on one side of the draw. So this is a positive development overall, I think, when you look at it. But anyway, to get on the clickbait, the way ruck.co.uk have presented this, the headline reads, first of all, World Rugby have confirmed Rugby World Cup expansion. England get an easy pool. Now that makes you think the draw's been made. We got an easy pool. Oh, gotta click that. Okay, but no. What they do in the article, for one thing, they go base the draw on the current world rankings. So if they were to make the draw now, all right, they don't tell you that in the headline that gets you clicking. It says England get an easy pool. Oh, geez, I'm going to click that if I'm English. You know what I mean? I'm going to, or even if you're Irish, you'll say, well, if England know who they got, maybe Ireland know who they got. This is news I don't know. So if that headline ends up in an aggregator or in a feed somewhere on your phone, you'll be likely to click it, as a rugby fan. But when you go into the thing, now there's actually 2 elements there's actually an extra clickbait element to this as well. You go into the website and it explains the story like I did before about how the format's going to work. Actually, on qualification, my quote that I've chosen it's an extra bit of information on this qualification. The new process features a blend of existing regional competitions, a pathway through the new Pacific Nations Cup, a cross-continental playoff, and one final qualification tournament. So there's going to be a lot of opportunities for qualification, a lot of extra matches for these teams. So it's kind of a good way of not only getting more minnows into the finals and getting them more experience there, but creating more competition for those places. So there'll be a lot of big matches to follow over the next few years. Qualification. 12 teams have already gotten through, but now there's 12 that have to qualify. So there's be a lot of interesting matchups there. But the one final thing on the clickbait is they tell you that, oh, here are how the pools will look if the draw were made now based on the rankings now. But then they do pool A and pool B. And then it says, oh, click here for more. So they've put the whole post on 3 pages. And actually the English team that they tell you in the headline that has the easy pool, they're on the 3rd page. So they actually get 3 clicks out of you. They actually get 3 clicks out of you to find out what's in the headline. I mean, that's a scam. You got to watch for that, okay? Watch for these websites, and these guys are the worst at it. I don't care how much money I would make. If I want to do content creation, I wouldn't resort to this. It's just petty as far as I'm concerned, and it's ridiculous. But it's probably old fashioned on my account, and it's probably some people probably think I'll be stupid for not doing it. But I'm gonna. I choose to go into this article and point it out every week. And if it's that site, it's the only site that's doing it, then I'll point that at that site every week. But there are other sites that do it as well. I'll try to look for more places, more sources of that. But anyway, that's our front five for this week. Okay, now at this stage during the season is where we have our Leinster squad update. Obviously, if Leinster played last weekend, there'd be an injury update on the Monday or the Tuesday. So we'd share that with you here, and then I would give my suggestion. Talk about picking 15s. I would pick my predicted match day 23 for the next game we've got coming up. So that's what we normally do here. Obviously, we're not doing it now. Now, just a couple of other bits of news that are coming through. And actually, this next one just came through this morning, recording on Wednesday. EPCR agrees a 3-year deal that sees Premier Sports become UK and Ireland broadcaster of the Investec Champions Cup and the EPCR Challenge Cup. Now, we kind of knew about this as well. This was another poorly kept secret. This has been leaked several times, but we're getting the official announcement of it now. The press release goes on to say Premier Sports is the established UK broadcaster of all BKT United Rugby Championship games in the UK, and more than 100 top 14 games live every season as well. That's true. If you're on the now, of course, this isn't free. Of course, most people, I think, in Ireland get it through Now. I think you can also get it through Sky as well. There's different ways of getting these channels. But this is the third point, and this is my favorite part. It's not guaranteed going to happen, but we'll see. Premier Sports looks to create the first 24/7 rugby channel. And, if nothing is deserving of a Homer drooling meme, it's that. A 24/7 dedicated rugby channel. And as Kino pointed out in the WhatsApp group, they're only saying they look to create. And we don't know what format it's going to take. Is it going to be free with the channels you already have, or are you going to have to pay extra again to pay for it? There's a lot of I's to dot and T's to cross there, but just the notion of it, I mean, it seems it is something we as rugby fans would want. And the competitions, the top 14, the URC and the Champions Cup, I mean, that's almost everything we watch throughout the season, at least at provincial level, so we'll see what happens there. And that's exciting news. Okay, so I'm gonna channel my inner Paul Williams and see it as glass half full for now. That's what I'm gonna do. Okay, next article, though. We're just going to have a quick mention of our various social media channels. I launched Harping on Rugby on Twitter way back in July 2009. And since then, it has very much been my primary source of sharing my content. And although, in wider terms, 10,000 followers isn't a whole lot, for a site that mainly focuses on one provincial and one test side in a relatively small country, I don't think we've done too bad. And even when Elon Musk took over, I wasn't as annoyed as many are, because I figured that if you chose not to use a product or a service because you don't approve of the company's CEO's character or views or anything like that, you probably wouldn't get out of bed in the morning. In fact, you might not even get into that bed at all if there was something wrong with their CEO. But much like a lot of people this week, Musk's interview with Trump, plus him allowing him back onto the platform, has finally gotten me to start thinking of other places. And while Mark Zuckerberg's thread could be seen as a fire to X's frying pan, I might just give it a go for a while as my primary source. I've already road tested Blue Sky and Mastodon, and we still have a presence there. But I think Threads is linked to Instagram is what gives it the numbers to be a place to get my harping as far and as wide as I need. So maybe just for the next few weeks, I'm going to try and hang there primarily just to see how it goes. So if you're on Threads, be sure to give us a follow and engage when you can. I'll probably be active during the Rugby Championship matches on Saturday for starters, okay? Now, next up is Troll Patrol, where we detain a social media contributor and charge them with being a troll, basically. And for the second time in 3 weeks, I'm detaining Mr. Ewan McKenna this week. He did this tweet where he goes, "There endeth the Olympics for Ireland. I think it has been remarkable, amazing." Okay, that doesn't sound like trolling there. But then he goes, "To much abuse, as always. I said 9 to 12 medal medical. 9 to 12 medal prediction was insane and arrogant. I was proven right. Abuse will move on to abusing someone that will be proven correct too. As a nation, we need to wind in our necks. Now, you see, this is vintage McKenna here. I mean, he's like, for two things going on here. Number one, oh, poor me. I was attacked. I got abuse. I got abuse for this. What he's talking about is some people said we could get 9 to 12 medals. And what's wrong with aspiring to that? You know what I mean? So he just said, oh, these people are wrong and we're not going to get it. And it wasn't just this abuse. What he's calling abuse is people not just responding to that one tweet. It's a response to his entire social media persona, which he's just aiming to be a troll, you know? So it's this notion of I'm gonna say something trolling. I'm gonna say something that I know is gonna gaslight people. And then when they respond, I'm gonna get more attention out of that. So I'm gonna court the abuse and then respond to the abuse. And then you get, it goes in cycles and you expand your attention is basically what he's doing. And, you know, here he's like, but the second element to this is not just the typical gaslighting. He's like, I was proven right. And that's more important. And which is interesting because if you're a sports fan of a particular team, and you know, you create content like I do. So some weeks, like when we played La Rochelle away in the Champions Cup, it's not often I predict a Leinster defeat, but I thought we were going to lose that game. The first game in the Champions Cup this last season against La Rochelle, I thought we were going to lose that. I still thought we'd go on to do well in the actual competition, but I was pretty sure we were going to lose that first game. And I said it. Now, do you think I wanted to be proven right? No. I was delighted to be absolutely wrong. That was an amazing performance. And it's one of our best displays in Europe in a long time. And, you know, we got the win, but that's my point. But here, this tweet here, proven right. That's the focus. To me, that's what he wants more than anything. And that's why I'm calling him a troll for this week. And just one last thing on this. I want to give a shout out to someone on Mastodon. He goes by the name Dread Pirate John Scab. And he pointed out when I spoke about you and McKenna, thanks for your positive comments on these videos, by the way. But he pointed out a couple of weeks ago that I went on this other rant on you and McKenna. He slagged off one of the Irish women rugby players who actually did something good in a game. She tried to keep the ball in play. She ended up hopping along the sideline, trying to stay in. She just didn't manage it. He shared a video, and I pointed out, and my point on Ewan McKenna, I call him an Irish Tucker Carlson wannabe. I think that's what he's going for with his persona, with his views, with his, he's trying to gather up this following of people. There's a lot of COVID denialism in there. You know, just the whole persona. And I was so keen on pointing that out. I forgot his actual most common nickname, and that is Sport Gemma, which is actually perfect. That says it more. If you know Gemma O'Doherty and what she's been doing online and stuff, he is Sport Gemma. That's his nickname, and that's should only call him that, really. And maybe from now on, I will just call him that. But kudos to Dread Pirate John Scott for reminding me about that, and I just want to fix that now. But he's once again, he is our Troll Patrol detainee of the week. Okay, enough about that. Competition updates, where we look around, we focus on the URC and Champions Cup and Six Nations and all that, because that's what Leinster and Ireland play in. Competition updates is when we look at all the other competitions, have a quick update on what's going on there. And we're going to start with the women's InterPros, or the Winter Pros, as I call them, and absolutely nobody else ever will. But they kicked off last weekend. I've said before, it's a shame they're in such a small window of the season. They're really important. I'd love to see Leinster women playing more often, maybe as parts of doubleheaders with the men, or just basically more often throughout the season. But that's an argument for another day. They kicked off their defense of their title this weekend at Energia Park against Connacht, and they got a really convincing win. Hannah O'Connor led the line really well. Katie Whelan, number 9, was player of the match. She was, I mean, she scored 2 tries, but it wasn't just that. She was really influential, very nippy, a great 9. You know, taking the ball from the base and running herself and starting, you know, finding gaps, and perfect 9. She really did her coach proud. Tanya Rosser, no stranger to playing 9 herself. But it was a good display. Connacht did well in the second half. They fought back with a couple of tries, but it was still a comprehensive win, 38-19 to Leinster. In the previous match, Munster also got a bonus point win, but Ulster fought back towards the end to nick not one, but two bonus points, 29-22. The other feature of that game I noticed was the starting lineup from Munster. UL Bohemians are the women's AIL champions. The Munster team, 12 of their starting 15 were from UL Bohemians. Of the other three, two played in Leinster for Blackrock College. That's no surprise there. And the 15th player was from Gloucester, plays for Gloucester in England. So there's no other Munster clubs represented there. I'm not dissing Munster for that. You pick your best team in any way you can. It's more of a wider indication of the challenges that are faced by rugby, women's rugby in Ireland. They're still there. Okay, we still have to go on. We still have to play these matches. The calendar goes on, and you have to keep moving. But there are still a lot of challenges to be made, and I would hope that whatever they're doing, that we get to a stage, maybe 2-3 years time, where there's 2 or 3 more clubs represented by in all the provinces, and we hope we do get to that stage. And Leinster can say the same. I mean, it's a higher population area, so that there's mostly 3 clubs representing Leinster. You got Railway Union, Blackrock College, and Belvedere. You'd want more than that for Leinster as well. So it's not just a Munster thing, but I just thought seeing the makeup of that Munster team really brought it home that there still is a lot of work to be done. But anyway, listen, you've got Leinster and Munster both getting maximum points. And guess what? They meet each other on this Saturday at 4:45 p.m. And there's Ulster v Connacht as well. Both games are on TG Car. Be sure to check them out. Okay. Now, moving on. We have the Rugby Championship. Now, that kicked off at 5:30 on Saturday morning. I did get up and I did watch. Unfortunately, the South Africa-Australia match wasn't exactly a classic. It was kind of South Africa through and through. I almost felt like they were toying with them, to be honest with you. And they ran out a 33-7 winners. Australia there was no match there, and you almost worry what's going to happen this weekend in the second round. And already, actually, they've named their team, and this is the most Razzie thing ever. Despite that comfortable win, he's made 10 changes. Now, we noticed he didn't do that after beating us in the first test a while ago, but for this series, he feels he can make 10 changes and probably thinks he'll get the same result. Now, we'll see. Is that hubris? I don't know. We'll find out. But 10 changes starting lineup is a big move. Now, of course, for the second match, when it comes to excitement, I wasn't disappointed. Argentina, amazing win in Wellington against the All Blacks. It's, they just played with it. It wasn't even about the tactics. They just played with such belief, especially in the forwards. They were Malia, their fullback, was a real star as well. But in the forwards, they just played with such belief. They just went for everything. They went for a 6-2 bench, which probably explained why they went so heavy in the first hour or so. But they never let up. New Zealand, they basically forced the All Blacks into mistakes. And not only that, but then pounced on them and turned them into points. And it was a thoroughly deserved win. It was an amazing display. I'd gone a couple of weeks without watching rugby, and I needed that break. But this game has brought me back, and I'm ready for more. So that was an amazing win. And so you've got South Africa in first place, Argentina in second. But of course, the second, both games are going to be repeated this weekend. And they're at a better time as well. The Australia game goes back to the usual Australian kickoff time of 10:30. So you've got New Zealand at 8 o'clock and Australia at 10:30. And so those will be 2 games to look forward to this weekend as well. Okay. Now for a quick word on the Rugby Europe Super Cup. Okay, it's not kicking off yet. It doesn't kick off until September, but they announced their format. And unfortunately, this is, in case you don't know, the Rugby Europe Super Cup is kind of a gateway competition for club sides from countries that aren't in the 6/7 nations that take part in the Champions Cup and Challenge Cup. Okay, so it started 4 years ago with 8 teams. It's a small competition. It always takes place the same kind of year. and some countries had to produce kind of new kind of club names and club logos and kits and whatever. So they're kind of super clubs from these smaller countries like Georgia, Romania, and all this. But unfortunately, political things have gotten involved as well. Obviously a competition like this ideally would have Russia involved because the Russian teams have played in the Challenge Cup before. But of course, with all that's going on with Russia, those teams had to pull out. They were gone last season, so they had to find other clubs to take part. And this year, they've announced that the competition will take place without the 2 times runner-up, the Tel Aviv Heat. Now, this is the official statement on the website. Due to various logistical elements. I mean, that's as diplomatic as you can put it, but I don't think you need to spell out why a team called the Tel Aviv Heat won't be taking part in this year's Rugby Europe Super Cup. But so what they've done is they've kept it at 8 teams up to now, but this year they're going to stay with 7. They've split it into 2 divisions. They did that last year, but the second division, the second group, had a chance of winning the competition. They didn't, but they didn't go on to win it, but they had the chance to win. This year, they're going to just go with 2 straight ring-fenced divisions. So Group A has got Black Lion, Lusitanos from Portugal, and Castilla y León Iberians from Valladolid in Spain. They're the top division. They're the only 3 that can actually win the championship itself. They're going to play round robin, and the winner of that is going to be the champions. And then the B division is Delta from Holland, Brussels Devils, Romanian Wolves, and Bohemian Warriors from Czechia. And they're going to play a separate group themselves. I don't know if there's going to be a trophy for it. That's how that's. So we're going to be following that anyway. It goes on from September 7th to October 20th. And we'll be following that here on this column. Okay. So next, the Currie Cup. I'll go quickly through this one because we want to move on. The Currie Cup round 6. I watched the game this weekend as well. I watched the Western Province against the Cheetahs, and it was an interesting game. Western Province, they're the Stormers Currie Cup team, and they play in Cape Town. And I remember when the under-20s were playing in Cape Town, the Irish under-20s, and the game was called off because of the rain. A lot of people were saying, why play rugby in Cape Town at this time of year? Apparently everyone knows July and August is the rain season for there. And this game was played in torrential rain from start to finish. But the Western Province, they jumped out in a 13-0 lead, but then the Cheetahs, for the second week in a row, they just fought back. They never gave up, and they ended up winning 26-19. In fact, it took a late penalty for Western Province to get the bonus point. But that was another win for the Cheetahs that keeps them in contention. There were also wins for the Lions, the Bulls, and the Sharks that weekend, and which means the Bulls are still in first place. The Cheetahs, despite their win, they dropped one because they didn't get a bonus point. The Lions overtook them into second place, and the Pumas are in fourth. And next weekend, I think the big game, is fourth place Pumas against the first place Bulls. So that'll be interesting. That's on Friday. A lot of those games are over on Sky. Okay, now it's time for what I'm calling the Squirrel Clip. A couple of weeks ago, I noticed right after I finished recording this video that there was news I needed to add. So what I want to do now is quickly check my emails, social media and whatnot, to see if any news is broken while I was mid-harp, as it were. And I'm assuming you don't want to watch me scrolling on my phone. So in the spirit of the dog from the movie Up, I'm going to distract you with a clip for about a minute. This week, I'm going to use that drop goal from Kieran Frawley against the Springboks. I'm going to go out on a limb and assume most of the viewers won't mind too much watching it again. So while I'm looking at my phone, here goes.
A kick wins it for Ireland. Discipline vital for the home side. Baird. Back they go into the pocket for Frawley. He's watching it. It's over.
He's got it. It's not over yet. It's not over yet. It's Cheslin Colby.
Oh, he slipped.
There is nothing clear, mate.
I'm going to think clear obstruction.
Evs, have you got clear obstruction? Tempo, you happy? Tempo, you happy?
Yeah, all good.
Okay.
Well, the final whistle blows and Ireland have done it. They have got their second win on South African soil. And
Okay, so I'm back, and I hope you enjoyed that. And it turns out, yes, there is news that I've missed. Leinster Rugby confirmed 2-game preseason schedule. Friday, the 30th of August, they're going to play Bordeaux, where I think Joey Carberry has gone, and Saturday, the 7th of September, in Franklin's Gardens against Northampton. Now, it's a shame both are away. I don't know if there'll be any TV coverage or anything. We'll be able to see those matches, but those 2 games have been confirmed. It's going to be a run out for Leinster ahead of the new season. So that's something to look forward to. That's a bit of news that broke while I was harping, and so that's that. Okay, listen. We're going to leave it there. Normally here, I would tell you about upcoming content when there's a Leinster Ireland match of the weekend. But for now, these videos are pretty much all we're doing. So all going well, we'll be back next week with more fun 5 articles. And actually, next week, we'll be recording on Harpin and Rugby's birthday. The site, not mine personally, by the way. But so I'm pretty sure that'll come up next week's recording. Anyway, I hope you'll keep tabs on all our social media feeds. Like I said, we're going to be heavier on Threads now, but we're on all of them anyway. And wherever you are in the world, just be sure to enjoy your rugby. Stay safe, everyone. Slán.